Virginia politician doused in gasoline and then set on fire. Danville City Councilman Lee Vogler, 38, was set on fire Wednesday in what police say was a targeted personal attack. Okay. The suspect, Shotzi Michael Buck Hayes. Okay. Fled the scene but was arrested without incident nearby. Police said the assault stemmed from a personal matter and was not politically motivated. Okay. Vogler is conscious and able to communicate. He's being treated at the burn center in Lynchburg, Virginia. Isn't Lynchburg not even named Lynchburg because of lynching, but after a famous abolitionist like David Lynch or something? Well, it's not David Lynch, but it's something. Like, it's not named after lynching. It's named after an abolitionist named Lynch. I feel like if you were an abolitionist and your last name was Lynch, you would not want a town named after you. William Lynch. Okay. Sure. Well, here's him before the burn, according to a video posted by the publication on Facebook. Okay, I'm not going to show a burn video. What's the video? Does this video have audio?
Brooks, I am the publisher and owner of Showcase Magazine. Today, our coworker Lee Vogler was attacked in our office. An individual forced his way into our office carrying a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline and poured the gasoline on Lee. Lee attempted to flee, ran to the front of the building. The individual followed him and set him on fire. Lee identified his attacker as a man named Shotzi Buck. We don't know if that's his real name or a nickname. Lee is awake and talking and en route to the burn center in Lynchburg. Our hearts and prayers are with him. Everyone here at Showcase, we don't even really know what to say.
Yeah.
We're cooperating with the police. Our associate publisher is currently being interviewed by the police at the police station. This type of senseless act of violence has to...
Vosh, I'm sorry I lied. Lynching was named after William Lynch. Lynchburg was named after John Lynch. Okay, Lynchburg named after John Lynch. Gotcha. Famous abolitionist, Quaker abolitionist, John Lynch. Gotcha. Whereas William Lynch presumably was in fact a piece of shit. Okay.
Stop. You do not have the right as a human being to get upset with someone enough to...
Yeah, all right. I know that. I agree with the morality lesson. That's crazy. Well, maybe it is just personal. No, William Lynch got lynched. Oh, okay. All right, interesting. So 2 brothers, John Lynch and William Lynch. And William Lynch was lynched, hence it being called lynching. And John Lynch swore revenge, became an abolitionist, and later a town was named after him. Do I got that proper? I think I do. Sad stuff, kind of incomprehensible. You guys see this? Vosh, you just turned Southern again, lol, do I got that proper? Yeah, well, I just reread the Preacher comics, so I'm a little susceptible at the moment. Also, I feel like I've always done a little bit of Southern aphorisms. Most of my family's Southern, and I would visit Florida, Panhandle, Florida, not Miami, Florida, pretty often as a kid, so I haven't heard a boy howdy out of you in days. I've said what in tarnation a couple of times, unironically. How about that? Anyway, you see this? YouTube is turning over age verification to AI. Adults will have to prove their age if the tool wrongly assumed them to be a teenager. You know, somebody in chat was complaining that they got hit with this earlier. That's crazy. Looks like you were one of the lucky ones. The company said it plans to start using this AI application on a subset of US users in the coming weeks for a trial before rolling it out to the rest of the market. The tool will assess what user behaviors, including the type of videos being searched for, the categories of videos watched, and how long the accounts existed. Oh God. So if you're in your 20s, but you're a theater kid, so all you watch is like Steven Universe and Alexander Hamilton clips, they might hit you with the kid stamp. You're gonna have to prove it. You're gonna have to give them your ID. It's kind of crazy how this is all happening everywhere at the same time, right? Like the payment processors, Visa and MasterCard, the United Kingdom, even though that law was passed years ago, this. It's just interesting how all of these different entities that theoretically wouldn't really be communicating with each other or coordinating anything are all rolling out this big wave of something that basically has the same outcome in all cases, which is you have to give your ID to the private websites. Plus COSA and Screen Act in the Senate right now. Yeah. Kids Online Safety Act, our very own version of the what they passed in the United Kingdom. COSA passed by 91-3. Yeah, not surprising. What is COSA? It aims to provide further protections to children online related to privacy and mental health concerns exacerbated by social media and excessive internet use. The bill would create duty of care, meaning that tech companies and platform giants would be required to take steps to prevent potentially harmful encounters, such as posts about eating disorders and instances of online bullying from impacting minors. Snowden being pro-AI has weakened the privacy activists who'd normally be pushing back. That's a good point, yeah. A lot of the people who would normally be reflexively against this stuff are suckered in by anything pro-AI. So as long as their, you know, censorious algorithms are being managed by an LLM, they're pretty amenable to it. A covered platform shall exercise reasonable care in the creation and implementation of any design feature to prevent and mitigate the following harms to minors: anxiety, depression, eating disorder. This is such nanny state bullshit. This is completely impossible. You expect all platforms to, what? Never allow young people to be exposed to stuff that might depress them? This is just all content in the universe. All media, all art, all engagement, all socializing, literally everything. A kid can get depressed playing Club Penguin. This means nothing. In effect, all of these bills do the exact same thing. They make it so you have to give your ID to a company that runs the website so you can prove that you're old enough to be able to engage with its content. Health organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association have pushed Congress to pass COSA to better protect young people online and see the bill as a potential way to intervene with the detrimental impact social media and internet usage in general can have on one's mental health. It really makes me wonder how much of this is motivated by Gaza, you know? Because the TikTok ban, remember Mitt Romney was clear about it, the TikTok ban was in part motivated by the fact that a lot of young politically active people were, you know, just talking about what was going on. Plenty of misinformation, sure, but you get that everywhere, you know? They just didn't like the young Ben. I wonder if they think it would be politically advantageous to just prevent under 18s from being able to politically participate at all. That way you don't have to worry about their generally progressive bent. Newer versions of the bill have narrowed regulations to apply to limiting design features such as notifications, infinite scrolling or autoplay, and in-game purchases. Okay, well that's stuff that I agree with, but I think those should be banned altogether. I don't think autoplay, infinite scrolling, well, autoplay can be fine within cultivated playlists, but I don't think that autoplay, infinite scrolling, and in-game purchases should be legal, period. I think those things should just be banned. I think that if you buy a game, you should pay its price upfront, or a subscription service, because I understand some games like MMOs require that. It's not possible to finance those games off a upfront payment model unless you're willing to pay $500 up front, which no one would be. Except for me, maybe, with classic Mists of Pandaria. You know, what are you going to do? The one bright side is that a jury gets to decide what is reasonable care. Most people will find requiring ID is not reasonable. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that for a damn second. Juries are comprised of adults. Why would an adult care whether or not ID is necessary? They don't give a shit. Also, the average American doesn't give a f about privacy. They give their data away freely. They don't care. They don't understand the implications of these things. They're not smart enough. Americans love surveillance. They love the cops. They love street cameras. They love Ring doorbell cameras. They love it. There's nothing they love more. They love the Citizen app. They love the Nextdoor app. They love neighborhood watch posters. Screen Act does the same. Except with pornography sites, correct? I don't know if this one's as likely to pass because it's one of Mike Lee's bastard brainchildren. Mike Lee did vote against COSA for what it's worth. Whatever. Inscrutable. Wait, Congress is out of recess? Senate. The House is in recess. To not talk about Epstein. The Senate is the one that's active right now. Mike Lee's a senator. These are all in the Senate. The Shielding Children's Retinas from Egregious Exposure on the Net, or the Screen Act, Not at all forced. Requires all commercial pornographic websites to adopt age verification technology to ensure a child cannot access pornographic content. Again, you think of it for 2 seconds, what does it actually mean? It means that every porn site's going to ask you for your driver's license. That's great. Can't wait for any one of these sites to leak, and all of a sudden, oh, you've been on Pornhub? Don't worry, people know. Just crazy, crazy stuff, really. Doesn't fix any of these goddamn problems. This isn't even the half of it, man. So much has been going on lately with regards to censorship. I mean, we've talked about itch.io, we've talked about the payment processors, we talked about the United Kingdom, we just talked about the Screen Act, COSA. Where's that? Oh, God, I just saw a video of it. Where's it with regard to the upcoming merger between Paramount and Skydance? Didn't the Trump administration say they would be appointing a impartiality moderator to the merger to make sure that these media companies are favorable to the administration of the future? Yeah, this. Christ. Under Trump, Paramount's merger deal must include a bias monitor. Oh, and wow, they're ditching their DEI programs. An ombudsman from the FCC would work directly with new Paramount's president to review any complaints or bias or other concerns regarding CBS News, a subsidiary under Paramount. So CBS News is just going to directly have a Trump administration official breathing down their neck. Not, mind you, the way they already have had from the federal government, but directly integrated into the corporate structure of the news company. Are these people spineless? Well, the people who wanted the merger just wanted more money. So they're getting that, you know. Works out fine for them. Trump administration is launching a new private health tracking system with big tech's help. Oh, that's good. That's good. Pushing an initiative for millions of Americans to upload personal health data and medical records on new apps and systems run by private tech companies, promising it'll make it easier to access health records and monitor wellness. Trump is expected to deliver remarks on the initiative Wednesday afternoon. That's now, I suppose. In the East Room, the event is expected to involve leaders from more than 60 companies, including major tech companies like Google and Amazon, as well as prominent hospital systems like the Cleveland Clinic. That's cool. Is there potentially any good in this? No. If there was good in this, they wouldn't be doing it. Popular weight loss and fitness subscription service Noom, which has signed on to the initiative, will be able to pull medical records after the system's expected launch early next year. That might include labs or medical tests that the app could use to develop an AI-driven analysis of what might help users lose weight. Y'all looking forward to back-end deals between food companies and this app where they say like, hey, no, here you go. Here's $2 million. Trust me, this brand of cereal is going to help people lose weight the most. Apps and health systems will also have access to their competitors' information too. Noom would be able to access a person's data from Apple Health, for example. Just any app, any company that you've given any information to will belong to all companies and to the government at all times. Kennedy has also sought to collect more data from Americans' medical records, which he has previously said he wants to use to study autism and vaccine safety. Yep. It's all happening all at once. Everywhere.
And for everybody who's out there thinking of using VPNs, let me just say to you directly, verifying your age keeps a child safe, keeps children safe in our country. So let's just not try and find a way around. Just prove your age, make the internet safer for children, make it a better experience for everyone. That's surely what we should aspire to in this country.
Remarkable. I hate these people more than anything. You should. You really, truly should. Revealed, Ofcom pressured Rumble and Reddit to enforce UK censorship laws beyond borders. Ah, so this is why a bunch of social media sites started doing the UK law age verification blocking thing, even if you don't live in the United Kingdom. There were a bunch of Twitter users from all over Europe complaining about this, that they were getting hit with the Twitter has yet to verify your age before you can see this content thing, you know, and they live in like the Netherlands or Spain or something. Wouldn't that violate EU laws? Who cares? Doesn't seem to matter. No, that's because of actual EU laws that also just kick in now. At the same day? What laws are you referring to? I just got hit with that pop-up here in Canada. Internal communications now made public by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee shed light on a pattern of escalating pressure by the UK's communications regulator, Ofcom, aimed at pushing US-based tech platforms like Rumble and Reddit into adopting stricter speech standards, even in apparent disregard for national boundaries and free speech protections. The emails align how Ofcom has been leading on Rumble to align itself with UK's Online Safety Act, a censorship law that vastly expands the state's oversight of online content under the guise of child protection and harm prevention. Rumble, which has consistently maintained that it is not within the scope of the legislation, told the regulator that the UK is not a target market and the platform does not have a substantial user base in Britain. Despite this, Ofcom responded with veiled warnings. In one exchange, the agency said it would be, quote, monitoring Rumble's position carefully, and it may follow up if Rumble's stance is contradicted by future activity or incidents involving UK users. The implication was clear. Remaining outside the regulatory net may not be tolerated for long. Ofcom also stated it would, quote, strongly encourage Rumble to take the steps required by the Act to protect UK users of internet services from content that is illegal in the UK or potentially harmful to UK children. Yet Rumble operates from within the United States, where citizens actually have free speech rights under the First Amendment. Well, not for long, raising serious concerns about the extraterritorial application of UK laws to platforms governed by different legal frameworks. Further emails show Ofcom believes, quote, a supervisory relationship between the agency and online services is the most effective way to review and assess compliance, again suggesting that companies should voluntarily submit to oversight or risk the alternative, legal coercion. We retain the right to legally request information, the regulator warned. Reddit also appeared to be within the crosshairs. In a separate line of correspondence, Ofcom indicated that it expects a supervision plan to be in place for the platform, with particular emphasis on how if Reddit handled so-called hate content, a term that remains dangerously elastic and open to political manipulation. Reddit already has a hateful content policy. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the United Kingdom's rules. Australia to ban YouTube for under 16s. The ban won't make it impossible for under 16s to view YouTube videos, as they can watch on somebody else's profile without signing in, but they won't be allowed to have an account and can't upload content or interact with the platform. So it does nothing. The UK government says it will not repeal. Yeah, Rave Dubin, we saw this yesterday. Despite overwhelming unpopularity, the Labour Party has said that they won't even consider repealing the Online Safety Act. I wonder how much of this has to do with the birth rate. Here's the EU nation-state thing. Social media needs age verification for users under 15, say 11 EU member states. Is that an actual rule being put forward, or just they're making the argument in EU court? Okay, they've just signed a letter right now. UK wants people to need a license to own a dog. Yeah, unfortunately, it's worth keeping in mind that, like, it is as tempting as it is to believe that all of this is coming from the top down. A lot of this is the fact that as a, condition of extensive social conditioning, right? Or as a consequence of extensive social conditioning, a lot of people are sheep. They are desperate for surveillance. They have no guidance in their life. They have no idea what they want, but they do want the sweet comfort of a paternalistic state guiding them from point to point. They don't want autonomy. Yeah, they want strongmen. 85% of Britons think there should be some form of dog license. Why? You should require a license to own a dog of any breed as a pet. 72% of 65 plus. Do the British just hate freedom? Yes. Because it's a dying society. People feel anxious. They understand that their country has declined, that there's not enough money to go around. They feel like their society, their civilization, their culture, whatever, is under attack. People are desperate for strongmen. There's no hope for the future. Perfect timing for AI to exist? Yeah, I suppose so. The UK wants people to use breathalyzers and a recording device to use a car. This link doesn't work. OpenAI and UK signed deal to use AI in public services. It's all happening at once. Literally every single thing we've talked about, everything right now, everything we've talked about in the past, I don't know how long, 30 minutes or whatever, has taken place within the span of 2 weeks. All new UK cars could have breathalyzers and black box style recorders under Labour plans to align with the EU. Okay. Does this suggest that in the European Union, whenever you buy a new car, it has breathalyzers and black box style recorders? Is that true? Daily Mail just kind of says stuff, not gonna lie. Yeah, well, the Labour Party just kind of does stuff, doesn't it? Anyway, if you polled the British public on it, 85% of them would agree that every new car should have a breathalyzer. What a stupid time to be alive. Yeah, it really does make you wonder how the hell we're going to get out of this mess. We really do need like a radical pro-freedom movement, but it seems like nobody wants that. I mean, God, it took people centuries of living under, you know, hereditary monarchy for the inertia to build up towards the French Revolution. Largely, of course, it was social and, you know, industrial changes that enabled it. But at the end of the day, it kind of feels like we've backslid enormously. The debt's right behind me, isn't it? Yeah. What's the discourse like over here in the UK, man? What are we doing?
Good evening. Well, the online
look, it's the future Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Safety Act came into force just 4 days ago. Well, I say that, actually, the legislation was passed a couple of years ago, and it's come in stages, but it's already had quite an effect. There has not been initially much debate about it because the Conservative Party passed the legislation, the Labour Party inherited it. But it's pretty fair to say, you know, the Free Speech Union, people like myself and others, have been very concerned about it. And it led to this astonishing backlash from the Science Minister, Peter Kyle, on Sky News this morning.
I see that Nigel Farage is already saying that he's going to overturn these laws. So, you know, we have people out there who are extreme pornographers, peddling hate, peddling violence. Nigel Farage is on their side. Make no mistake about it. If people like Jimmy...
Incredible, man. I'm gonna fucking become a citizen of the United Kingdom and vote for Farage myself, or whatever relevant, you know, writings, you know, Reform Party candidate. Jesus. I genuinely don't know what I hate more, fascism or this like hyper-paternalistic conservative liberalism where everything is subsumed by AI. Of course, it's a false dichotomy. I have no doubt that a Farage's government would also be a hyper-paternalistic, you know, subsumed by AI government. Yeah, it's really just two flavors. It's just how much open racism you want.
Savile were alive today, he'd be perpetrating his crimes online. And Nigel Farage is saying that he's on their side.
Well, just to be sort of very clear, I'm not on Jimmy Savile's side. I thought it was an absolutely appalling thing for him to say. Probably shows you just how much trouble they're in as a government. And a very stupid thing to say, given that his own party leader, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, of course, faced a barrage of criticism for not prosecuting Jimmy Savile when he was in charge of the Crown Prosecution Service and subsequently apologised to the nation. But I don't really want to spend too much time talking about Peter Kyle. I think there are bigger and more important aspects to talk about, including this community note on X that was put back to Peter Kyle. It said, since coming into force, Online Safety Act has blocked, restricted, censored content that wasn't what the Act was for. This includes immigration and even parliamentary debates. Well, let me give you briefly my very serious objections to the Online Safety Act. The first is we're told it's to protect children.
I'm going to need to start telling people not to vote for this guy just because they hate this one bullshit law. It's a pretty bad bullshit law. And in fairness, Corbyn needs to get loud about this. The fact that Corbyn came forward with his own party, which is getting quite popular, mind, and the first thing he did was go out there and say he wants to give more money to pensioners is a really, really bad sign. Unfortunately, like the elderly in the United Kingdom are like an anchor shackled to your fucking ankle. You know, you need to move past them politically or find a way to get them on board with your policies without constantly capitulating to them. 600K members already, by the way. Well, he should tell those members that he does not support this ridiculous censorious law.
But I suspect most 13-year-olds are more tech-savvy than Peter Kyle, because there are things out there called VPNs. Yes, there are ways that you can get around all of this, ways that you can hide your IP address, and they'll cost you £2.50 a month or something like that. Interestingly, since the 25th of July, there was one particular VPN site.
Yeah, maybe they'll ban VPNs. Could VPNs be banned? UK government to look very closely into their usage following spike after age verification row. The UK's Science Secretary, Peter Kyle, asserts there are no plans to ban VPNs. He did confirm, however, that the government would be looking very closely at how the best VPN apps are being used. Okay. I trust and believe you. There's no way a member of the Labour Party would say they don't want to ban something and then go ahead and ban it anyway.
Who'd seen a 2,000% increase in the number of people subscribing to it. And here's the worry. Of course, we want to protect children from extreme content, but if they go to get their stuff through VPNs, they'll then be able to access the dark web and stuff that is even more horrendous
dark web
than what is generally available online. So maybe this is just a sledgehammer to miss the nut. The worry is that it leads to a genuine crackdown on free speech. Unbelievably, it gives unchecked ministerial power to Peter Kyle. Yes, he will be able to unilaterally impose new censorship rules without any parliamentary debate or vote and make sure that Ofcom regulate according to his demands. And perhaps the biggest worry is Section 179, which says that if anybody communicates something that is false but causes non-trivial psychological harm, that could in fact be criminal behaviour, which, if you think about it, means that all satire would be dead, because all satire takes a grain of truth and exaggerates it and presents it in a way that is slightly false. So I genuinely think this is a threat on free speech. Unbelievably, Conservative member...
It pisses me off. So, first of all, his tie pisses me off. Second of all, it pisses me off so much that the only people who talk about free speech for years now have been disingenuous fascist blowhards who want to use it only to legitimize their hate speech. I despise it. I hate it so fucking much. There's no organized left push for freedom of speech. Seriously, you go on left Twitter or whatever, lefties, anyone from liberals to lefties, nobody talks about free speech at all as a virtue. Nobody does. Nobody does. They talk about individual harmful things or dictatorial or fascist or strongman things that Trump does or whoever else, but they don't really venerate free speech as an ideal because it's been so tainted by its association with disingenuous right-wingers.
Parliament Katie Lamb gave a speech in Parliament about the rape gangs. That speech, despite being given under parliamentary privilege, has already been edited online. Even comments of Elon Musk himself have been edited online. I've been supported, interestingly, by Jonathan Hall KC, who is the terrorism czar, and he says this act simply won't work or achieve its goal. I don't know whether Peter Kyle thinks he's a supporter of Jimmy Savile. I don't know.
Also, pretty good politics from Farage here, considering the demographics of the average reform voter and who Jeremy Corbyn is going to pull. It makes sense that Farage would position himself opposite this issue, you know? I mean, Jesus Christ. You have any idea how unpopular this law is going to be, especially for young people? Well, it is already, I suppose, but it's only going to get worse.
But I'm keen to ask you, do you think, as I do, that this is a threat to free speech? Yes or no? Please give me your thoughts. Tweet hashtag Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank is.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings. And
all right, I think that's enough of listening to these reform dipshits. Who was the fella? Who was the guy who he was upset about? Upsetty spaghetti? Which minister? That was Peter Kyle. Peter Kyle, that's right. Can I see, like, that entire... That's Peter Kyle on Sky News. I see a demand for an apology. Transport Secretary challenged over Peter Kyle's comments. Sky News is mostly covering stuff in, like, a way that is favorable to Farage, which I guess you should expect. What about this?
The Prime Minister is holding an emergency cabinet meeting today, seeking approval from ministers for his plan to recognise a Palestinian state.
Well, it comes after President Trump...
Different issue.
...of children by predators. The Online Safety Act...
Let's just move on to the online safety bill. I know you were talking to us on Friday about the challenge of enacting that.
By the way, I know we're talking about this in the context of the United Kingdom right now, but remember that all of this is happening right now in America, and at the very least, they're having conversations in government about it. That's one up on them. How much have you seen Democrats talk about this? Genuine question. Have you seen anyone in government meaningfully talk about this? Really rally on it? Like, Christ, at least they're engaging a little bit, even if it's from fucking the Reform Party.
lot of concern about what is happening online and the impact upon our children, child abuse, child pornography being available. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, said yesterday in his press conference that it's going to be scrapped if there is a Reform government, that it's an assault on free speech.
You have to understand that the Online Safety Act has in it the duty to prevent the grooming of children by predators. The Online Safety Act prevents under 13s from having access to the social media platforms, most of which have messaging apps for which adults can contact children. So be in no doubt at all. If you want to overturn the Online Safety Act, you are on the side of predators, not those who want to keep children safe. Nigel Farage is on the side of predators, and make no doubt about it.
Well, Nigel Farage has made a comment about what you've said this morning concerning that. He said Peter Curl's comments on Sky News are disgusting. He should do the right thing and apologise. Are you going to apologise?
As I said...
Can't believe I agree with fucking Farage, man. Jesus Christ.
If you want to overturn the Online Safety Act, you are on the side of predators and paedophiles. Nigel Farage wants to overturn the Online Safety Act that puts in it the duty to prevent children from being groomed by paedophiles, that prevents adults from contacting children who don't know each other, strangers contacting children. This is an act that is the biggest step forward in the experience.
The real reason this is happening everywhere at the same time is it's not really a conspiracy. It's more a bunch of individuals and individual corporations collectively coming to the same sets of conclusions. The first of which being there is an enormous social and political unity between highly regulated speech, censorship, so on, and right-wing governments. That these two things work together well in tandem. It's difficult to juxtapose a censorious slate of laws and private companies, social media platforms, with a country that is critical of corporate power and believes in regulation. So there's kind of a synchronicity there. And the second one is that advertising does not work the way that it used to. See, the entire internet is built on advertising money. For the most part, when you use a website, you don't pay for it, right? You use it for free. Social media, you use it for free. That makes you the product. What product do you represent? Even if you don't buy anything, you still represent a profile of data. Your age, your race, your education, where you live. A bunch of stuff, you know? And all of it together gives corporations information about how to best appeal to you through advertisement. The advertising algorithms are how the internet works. There's a reason why Google merged its advertising and search divisions, making it deliberately worse to search for things in order to keep you on the search page for longer so you see more ads, you know? The entire internet runs on this. The problem is, at the end of the day, there is just a limit to how much data they can glean off of you through social media use. Oftentimes the data is inaccurate, right? Sometimes people use VPNs, sometimes people lie with the information they put in. Oftentimes people will use social media in a way that doesn't just give much information, right? Like it just, you know, you might create a profile on Twitter and then just occasionally some artists or content creators or whatever you follow, but you don't really give a big profile that, can be sold off as part of a data package. So independently, perhaps with collusion, I don't know, all of these governments and companies are working to make one thing standard across the board, however possible. You will give them your fucking ID. You will give them your ID. Every single website, every company, all of these companies that rely on advertising money, they will get all the information about you. Not just little bits of data that they can scrape off of, gleaning your habits or whatever information you input. They can get your social security number if they want to, okay? Everything, your entire history, your history of renting, address, your credit score, any history you have of borrowing or paying back, all of this, they can get everything about you and have essentially unlimited data to use both in advertising and, yes, to feed their large language models, which will be, of course, correlating all this data. And the easiest way to get people to hand over their IDs to private corporations, something that normally people are pretty unwilling to do, is to frame it, as they always do, in the we're protecting the children kind of way. It always works that way. how they did prohibition. It's how they've done pretty much every censorious act that's ever been put forward. It's always some kind of conservative, reactionary, well, we're trying to protect normalcy and decency. And, you know, who doesn't love protecting children, right? So give me more of your freedoms. But that's it. At the end of the day, it's just about building LLMs. It's just about ad money. That's it. That's the only reason this is being done. There are governments, of course, that benefit from this greater degree of control over their citizens, but I really do think this is first and foremost like a private fronting
that children have online since the creation of the internet, the biggest step forward in the safety of children across Britain since the internet was created. And Nigel Farage wants to overturn all of that, to send it back to the days when predators and paedophiles could contact children. So I am not going to apologise for pointing out the obvious. He wants to overturn those measures. I will stay steadfast to make sure that children...
See, he's obviously lying, because if he wasn't, he would be aware of the fact the law doesn't actually protect children, and also referring to the entire history of the existence of the internet as the days when pedophiles could contact children is wildly disingenuous. It's being used as a political attack, but, I mean, he knows he's lying, right?
Children are kept safe in the digital age, just as we strive to keep children safe in the online world, offline world as well.
I think, Peter Kyle, what Nigel Farage is asking you to apologise for is saying earlier this morning that if Jimmy Savile was still alive, he would be perpetrating his terrible crimes online, and that you're saying Nigel Farage is on the side of Jimmy Savile and people like him.
There are people like Jimmy Savile who are trying to get access to children online that will be prevented from doing so by the Online Safety Act. Nigel Farage wants to overturn the very laws that are preventing that from happening.
Peter Kyle recently sent the police to raid a person who emailed him about Palestine. Okay. Yeah, it sounds about right. Peter Kyle's director of operations, aka bag carrier Chris Henry, got 4 Sussex police officers to raid a 54-year-old constituent's home at 4 a.m., arrest her, and hold her in cells for more than 8 hours. Her crime, writing, politely and articulately, to Kyle, objecting to his failure to condemn Israel's genocide. She is now on bail until mid-September, where she may or may not find out what crime she is alleged to have committed. Allegedly so heinous, it merits a 4 a.m. raid by 4 officers, including one who insisted watching her going to the toilet in her own home, a basement flat where she lives alone. Do you now realize this is all about Israel again? You're not thinking properly. Israel is just a means to an end, and the end is hegemony and corporate control. Israel is just the wedge that it's being put on. It's not really about Israel. They don't really give a shit about Israel. I'm sure they're eager to test their ability to, you know, unilaterally exercise political force against people who speak out against them, though. It could be anything, though. It didn't have to be Israel. It could have been the ANA. It could have been the Afghan government that we left after we abandoned them to die to the Taliban. You know, it could have been literally any issue.
Happening. He is on the side of people like Jimmy Savile, and I'm not going to apologise for saying so. It is about time that Nigel Farage was held to account for the words that he says, the actions that he takes, because this is politics. We have taken the action to prevent those things happening to children in our country. And Nigel...
How will Israel help achieving any meaningful hegemony? I can't keep going over this every time because I feel like I've said it literally dozens of times. Yeah, if Israel didn't exist, we would make it. You just make a controversial issue or take advantage of an existing one, you frame it in the most polarizing light possible, and then you use it as a yes or no line, people on the opposite side of which get demonized. We did the same thing about Iraq and Vietnam. In Vietnam, at the very least, we were fighting the Cold War, which obviously containment strategy was bullshit, but the Cold War was real. But with Iraq, what was that? We knew we were lying to go in. How did invading Iraq promote American hegemony? Like, it kind of didn't. If anything, it made us look stupid the world over. But it didn't matter. It's not like the people who are running the show are really that smart or well coordinated. What mattered is that you could use an issue, a very unpopular issue, and use state power as a way of splitting people down a line and separating them. Oh, if you're in media, you can only be pro-Iraq war, or at the very least, you have to be sympathetic to the government. You cannot be meaningfully anti-Iraq war at CNN at 2003, 2004. You just cannot. You cannot be the Dixie Chicks. You cannot be a protester or an activist. It doesn't matter what the people want. All that matters is that you use it as a wedge to promote what? Well, what got done in the Bush administration, you know? No bid contracts, Halliburton oil companies. There's a million agendas they want to push through, but in order for them to get them through, they need to keep you distracted with a different issue. They need to, they don't want to fight every battle over oil company this or that, you know? They would rather just say, no, this is the defining issue right here, but if you're on the other side of it, you lose the right to talk about anything because you're anti-Semitic or because you're anti-America, you're pro-Saddam Hussein.
Farage wants to throw all of that away, to turn the clock back. I will not apologise for pointing it out. Nigel Farage needs to be held to account for the dangerous policies that he is trying to impose on children across our country.
Although these measures aren't working in exactly the way that you'd foreseen, had they? Because we understand that there are a number of people who are able to circumvent the age verification checks by using these VPNs, these virtual private networks. There's been a surge in the applications for these, the number of people using these, and it's a way for people to be able to get round the age verification checks. So it essentially makes the Online Safety Act and that part of it meaningless, doesn't it?
So we've seen a percentage rise in the VPNs being downloaded, but the companies themselves won't release the actual numbers. What we do know for a fact is that the age verification software, such as Yoti, which is the leading one, has now been downloaded 6.5 million times. So we know that there are millions of adults out there, for people out there, who are willing to do the honest thing, which is prove their age. Now, look, I've never said, and when I was on the programme with you just recently, I've never said that we are going to prevent every bit of...
The framing of it is a moral issue, too. Like, you know, you're doing your civic duty by submitting your ID to the government.
Harmful content from finding its way into children's feeds. But if we get 50, 60, 70, maybe even 80 or 90% of the way there, then believe me, that's a pretty good day at work. Our country is safer, our children are safer as a result. So where we do look at those people...
This is fascist rhetoric. It is. It's unambiguously fascist rhetoric. Yes, 100%. You know, submit your data to the state, be a good citizen, and make yourself and your information available to us. And if you disagree, it's because you're a moral degenerate. You're a pedophile, you know? That's what he's saying. It is unambiguously fascistic rhetoric. It's just being done by the Labour Party. What a world.
People who do want to circumvent the rules, I say to them directly, please do the right thing, because every time you prove your age, you keep children safe across Britain. It is a minority of people who are trying to use the VPNs. I urge them not to.
Can I ask you also about another challenge, which is the growing use of encryption in social media? We were discussing yesterday with the National Crime Agency the way in which encryption allows criminal activity to be shielded. We know from the National Crime Agency a couple of months ago there's been a big fall in reporting of child sex abuse because Facebook is encrypting its Facebook Messenger system. It was reported last week in the Financial Times, officials from your department saying that we need to be soft on this with the Americans. They said one of the challenges for the tech partnerships we're working on with the Americans is the encryption issue. It's a big red line in the US. They don't want us messing with their tech companies. Peter Carl, don't
The encryption issue.
you need to mess with American tech companies if you're going to tackle this issue and keep children safe in the way that you say you want to?
Well, I think you can see from the previous conversation we've had that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep children safe in our country. And
Yeah, we know. Remarkable that even this would be on the chopping block. We're going to make encryption illegal. Do you have an encryption license? I notice you've been using maths to scramble your message and you've given a code to another individual. You wouldn't be thinking of instructing him on unscrambling it, would you? I don't know. The argument being made by the government here is that the state should have so much power that it is literally impossible for it to even be possible for an adult and a child to interact online without the state directly intervening or stopping it. This is a level of power that is unachievable. It's absolutely unachievable. It's like the degree of like 1984 tier surveillance that you would need to cede to the government to allow them to even get close to that kind of control is preposterous. It would be outright totalitarian. And it has nothing to do with protecting children. Such a ridiculous pretense.
Thing that works. I've also outlawed intimate image abuse, which happened earlier this year. That is making it illegal for tech platforms to share the images for non-consensual sharing of sensitive and sexualized images of other people.
Sure, that's anti-revenge porn. I think that's a very sensible law. It doesn't exactly take a lot of government intervention to crack down on that. It's pretty easy, right?
So I've done an awful lot to make sure that we can hold these companies to account and encourage them to do more when it comes to the safety of all people, but particularly children and vulnerable people across our country. When it comes to end-to-end encryption, this is a challenge for everyone, and I accept that. And I can certainly say that on behalf of my department, the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, we take extremely seriously the need to protect people in all environments online. And I would never, ever encourage anyone to go soft for any purposes. End-to-end encryption is very popular across the United Kingdom, as it is globally. There are real reasons why people would want to have discreet conversations with family members and friends and others, and to be reassured that their messages and their conversations are safe and secure. There are lots of ways that our intelligence and enforcement agencies can have access to the content that people are using and the things they are saying. But I accept in that what's called the tunnel between two phones has provided a new set of challenges. We need to work very closely with the tech companies themselves and our international partners to find ways of keeping people safe as technology moves forward.
That's a whole lot of words of him saying that he knows he can't outright say encryption should be illegal, but he still thinks of the existence of encryption as a challenge he has to, like, deal with, you know?
All circumstances, end-to-end encryption is just one of the challenges that we face.
Yeah.
And I know today you want to talk about this innovation fund. How will this work?
Oh, this is an amazing fund. This is a fund I've already given mayoralties around the United Kingdom £30 million to start to drive the support for innovation locally. Well, now I'm announcing it in cities around the United Kingdom. So Belfast and Londonderry, for example, Cardiff and Glasgow are going to receive £30 million each. It means that, I just know that people in these cities, they have very, very deep roots into the communities, whether it's...
Yeah, whatever. That's enough of that shit. Sorry, I don't know. We live in an age of censorship. It's really grim stuff. Unless there's some kind of unified left of center, left dissident, whatever, this might actually be an issue where there is some synchronicity between the left and the right as well. And I'm not just saying that like cynically, like, oh, everyone on the right is pedophilic, so they want to oppose this law or whatever. But there are a lot of people who have been, because they're stupid, usually, suckered into, I don't know, voting for Trump, but are disgusted by the idea of the government having infinite control over everything that you access and look at. There are a lot of like stupid, disaffected young men who got in on the Trump meme train and didn't really think that hard about it, but upon reflection really don't like the idea of every single tech and health company in existence being able to corroborate all of their data into an AI package. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know. All I know is that, like, to the extent that this opposition emerges, it's going to be almost entirely young people. Because I don't know. Demographically, I just don't see older people getting that involved in this. Something does have to give, though.